the Art Academy of Cincinnati?
Yeah.
And you got a scholarship, you said. So how did that come about?
Well, it came about, I was just thinking that I was going to, I wanted to do art and music. I wanted to pursue art and music as a career, and it was too much to do. I had submitted my tape and all this stuff and for auditioned and all these sort of things. But then I realized that, you know, art was the thing that I could pursue and I could see myself making a living doing, even though music was really strong in my life. So I went ahead and applied to the school, Art Academy, and got the full scholarship, just based on my work and that, and it was really good. Now, part of this story, I mean, it's too big of a story to try to unpack all of it. I mean, you'd have multiple segments for days to kind of really share with you my life story, like for real, because it can be a little overwhelming. So I'm hoping that to try to tell the story in a way that it doesn't become confusing to people who understand part of it and not understand the other parts of it. But at that point, I was when I was in school, and you know Gladine, I had met her. I was probably 19 at the time I met her. I just got out of high school and met her. She came to Glendale to play for Mount Zion Baptist Church in Glendale. And so I met her and I fell in love with her. and it was a big deal because, one, my family, my parents mainly, you know, and then people in the community, and I was good friends with the pastor of the church. I would spend a lot of time in his house and all this stuff, so they had these ideas about me and all this sort of stuff, but I fell in love with her, and it was real. I mean, and she got pregnant, and that's Devin. And so she gets pregnant, and that's a really big deal because the church and people, you know, we weren't married, all that stuff, and it was just a big deal. And then she's older than me and all of that. So I get to the point where it's like, when she told me she was pregnant, I was like, man, that's great. She's like, no, it's not. She said, but I said, yeah, it is. I told her, I said, you know, it is. I said, I love you. And I said, I'm going to be here for it. Well, I didn't know at that time, and that's why now I feel so empowered in my own life, because, you know, you go through a lot of stuff when you're younger. It prepares you for later in life. You may not understand it and stuff, but I told her I was committed to her, but then I didn't see the wrath of all these people who say that they love me. Now suddenly they have this problem. It's like, I'm just in love. Like, can't y'all accept that? And so I was there for her, but we had to leave Glendale because it was just so much. And so that's when I came to Hamilton, and that's when I met Annelle, your grandmother, and Anna and them, and and we became God's Way and started singing together, and that sort of became the thing that was somewhat my salvation, to have this relationship and then have this group that were amazing group to be in. I was the only guy, so we did prisons. I mean, we did a lot of ministry. I look back on that, I say, man, this was incredible. But then Devin was born, so everybody was like, oh man, you know, and it was saying, well, whose baby is that? You know how community does and all that stuff. But then when Devin came, you know, I was there. I told her, I said, I'm gonna be here through all this, and I was had a nervous breakdown behind it because there was a lot of pressure coming from everywhere, and I'm just 19. I'm not just out of high school, and not knowing all this was going to go through all this. And so when Devin was born, the day she was born, I'll never forget it, because it was a bunch of people at the hospital because they wanted to see her. It was like the birth of Christ or something. So they're all there crowded around and everything. And so I just walked on away with my brother Daryl under me, and we went. He had a couple Black and Miles, and we went and smoked those while we was waiting for her to, for the nurse to say, okay, you can see your baby now. So I came and I saw her. I was like, oh man, that's our child. And my whole life changed.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure it's like when you saw your first child or any of that, it was like, it's not about me anymore. And then suddenly, and you're just overwhelmed. And now you have to begin to live that out. So I told her, I said, I love you, I'm gonna be here. And so in Hamilton, as tough as Hamilton was, and as well as they knew her, we walked it out, like right in the face of people, and that was the time. It wasn't really hard for me, or it wasn't really hard for her, because like if you love somebody, it ain't, and you really know that, a lot of stuff doesn't matter. But it does when you have to deal with people who don't understand or don't respect it or any of that sort of stuff. So I think everybody's kind of blown away about it as Devin was starting to grow up and all of that, and they couldn't kind of put together that she was older than me and she had 3 kids, and here I am. I have a great relationship with them, but I wasn't trying to be their dad or anything. But I taught Kenny to play basketball because he was weak. He was, he was frail. As I built him up, he became a good ball player and stuff. And and then I played a lot in Hamilton at the center. So Glenn and I moved up there because we had to get away. It was about to break me down, and we lived with Lena in the projects over there on Welliver. 816 Welliver. We was over there, and we were just in there in survival mode, man, because we had been cast out from the community, and Lena said, you'll come and stay with me, and then so that's where it went from there. And I just with God's way, and then we started singing a lot and got some spiritual strength from that. And they're like my sisters, they still are, man. I still feel, even though I don't see them much or talk a lot, we don't get to talk as much. We grew really, really close during those times and that, so, yeah.
Okay. And are you still in school at this time? Are you still going through the art academy at 19 when Devin is born and stuff? Or
yeah, I can, that's the next part of this story.
Okay. And what was the age difference between you and Miss Glady?
21 years.
21 years.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. See, I didn't even realize it was that much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'd say 20 years. I think it was maybe 20, 21 years.
Uh-huh.
And but here's the interesting thing about that is that you fall in love with somebody, and then people are more concerned with, well, this is going to happen or that's going to happen, and this, and this. Well, anything can happen. You don't know how long something's going to last, but if you're in it, you're in it for as long. And so I never really thought about it that way. Like, I never thought about love like, I'm going to fall in love with somebody my age, or I didn't view it that way. So when I fell in love with her, I knew that this was real. I was like, and the only thing I really wanted to know was how she felt about me. But other people saw it like, well, she's taking advantage of the young man and this and that. And I'm like, okay. So when she got pregnant, she wasn't really expecting to get pregnant, but when she did, I think that was really in both of our minds, like, okay, what are we going to do? And so she was saying to me, I was like, what do you mean, what are we going to do? Like, I'm here. Like, I'm not going anywhere. That's my child. I'm going to be here. I'll do the work. I'm going to put in the work. And I had a car at the time. I had to get rid of my car, get the money. Was working part-time at a bank. And, put my little money together, and she was working at Ford Motor Company, I think at the time. And so, but it all we struggled through to provide sort of this foundation for Devin, and then at the same time, her 3 kids, building a relationship with them. And over the years, I really built a great relationship with them where they came to respect me for just how that's just me. I don't know how to explain it. I wasn't trying to be that just was who I am. So I didn't have to try to change. And then she let me, I think one of the biggest things I really appreciate about our relationship was I was the man. She was wiser, much wiser, knew God more. I grew from her faith and everything. But she didn't try to run things, or dominate. And she let me be a man. She let me do things. So I struggled through 5 years at the Art Academy, and I finally got my degree in '84. And I had a senior show, and I invited a whole bunch of people to the show, agencies and stuff like that. And so one of the guys who came to the show, he came up and gave me a card. He was from Scripps Howard. And he introduced himself. Hey, I'm Randy Cochran. I'm over Scripps Howard newspapers, and he was talking to me about it. So I'm looking around because our class was known for pranks on each other and stuff. So I'm like, somebody set me up, and I'm trying to see who it is and stuff. And but he gave me the card, and he says, hey, we got, he says, I love your work. He said, we can use you, one of our newspapers in Albuquerque, Denver, Hollywood, Florida, El Paso. He just named some newspapers and stuff. So he said, give me a call tomorrow. We'll set up lunch and talk to you, see how you feel about this. And so I did. I had lunch with him, and next thing I knew, I was on a flight to Denver to interview with the Rocky Mountain News, which was the largest of the Scripps Howard newspapers in Denver. I mean, all of the papers all over the nation. But I'm just out of school, and I'm getting this opportunity. So this was a really breakthrough for me and my family for all this stuff that we had gone through. I felt like, man, this is the real, my faith in God really increased, knowing that we were at the end of that part of our lives, and now we're in Denver. It was a huge opportunity for me to work professionally right off the top, because I wasn't expecting, because our teachers and instructors had told us, hey, you be willing to empty garbage cans in the agency, to get in and to move up. And in my mind, I was like, oh, hell no, I've been too much. I didn't expect that, but so that's where I landed. That's where my career started, as an illustrator and page designer, doing editorial illustrations. My full page, it was over 500,000 people who saw the newspaper there every day. And at that time, I was illustrating feature stories and stuff, so my work was being seen everywhere. And so people in my family, they didn't really know what I did. They don't, a lot of people don't know what you do or any of that, and I never really cared about that, but I started sending them tear sheets of, here's what I do, and they were like, whoa, man, you're doing this out there? And it's like, God, it was a real, so that's how my career started.